today's game plays like a futuristic Mirror's Edge, but instead of playing as a courier parkouring across rooftops, you get to play as the cyborg ninja from Metal Gear Solid, hacking and slashing your way through enemies as you run across rooftops, slide under grates, and just do all manner of cool kick-ass things. This is GhostRunner. Now, this is a game that is quite notorious for being really hard, so unlocking that platinum is going to be a fair bit of a challenge, and for me, there were 3 trophies that would stand between me and that shiny platinum: the gold finish line trophy, the gold R is for running trophy, and the silver more than human trophy. So the first of these that I actually got, and the first trophy that I actually unlocked in the game, was the R is for running trophy, which requires you to complete a level with 0 deaths. Now, some of the levels in this game can last a handful of minutes, while others can last anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes, so you've got to pick a decent level, and for me, I got this trophy on the very first level of the game, as I figured it being the first level, it would be the easiest, and there wasn't many enemies in this one, and it was also rather short. But trust me when I say this, it was anything but easy. I think I spent around an hour on this when I was attempting it. I just constantly replayed the first level before progressing the game any further, as I wanted this to be the first trophy that I unlocked, because if I couldn't do this, then I was pretty sure that I wouldn't be able to get the platinum. So the first few areas are just simple sections where you learn how to use the sword and how to slide and do certain moves like wall running. And the very first section that you'll find to be a bit problematic is this bit with the fan, as trying to get through this without getting hit is kind of tricky, and I would always just overthink it and end up just fumbling it there. It was one of the many roadblockers in this area. So after that, you end up sliding down this vent, and there's a guy immediately waiting to shoot you. And the first time you do this, you'll get a little tutorial where you learn about the slow-mo move that you can do to enable you to dodge the bullets. But when you replay this level, you won't get that, so you're instantly under attack. There is even more encounters as you progress further into the level, with enemies shooting at you from all angles, and if you're not on a good route through the area, you can easily find that you'll try and dodge one enemy's attack, only to get hit by another enemy from a distance shooting you. And it can be really frustrating because you will just die over and over and over again here, because like I said, it's really difficult, to be honest, to get through a whole level without dying, because there's just so many ways you can die, whether it's someone shooting you or you just mess up a platforming section and fall to your death. It's just a very annoying trophy to try and get, and one that will frustrate you as you try and work your way through the level. But this is very much a game of trial and error, and just keep on attempting the same things over and over until you find a good route for yourself in order to get yourself through. So I think the first time I finished the level, I was about 20 something deaths, so I just restarted the level and went back through it again to try and find the optimal routes. And like I say, I was either dying on enemy attacks, or I would fumble up a platforming section that I should have got through easily enough. And there were times where I think I would get sections nailed down completely, only to then start dying on them when I go back through them, because I died later on in this stage. So it always seemed a little bit different. There's never a 100% guaranteed way to get through a particular combat encounter, because the enemies will do other things that you're not quite aware of, and it depends on how aggressive you are when you go through, because sometimes you're better off just steamrolling through a section really quickly so that the enemies don't have too much of a chance to see you and start attacking. This section here, where you have to wall run across these gaps while 3 enemies in a row start shooting at you, was another tough section that often caused me to die and fail runs. But if you just keep on practicing, you will eventually get through it and be able to get all the way through the level without actually dying. And after about 30 minutes of practicing or so, I eventually did just that. And I can't tell you enough how adrenaline pumping and exciting this was. It was a heartbeat moment there where you're just panicking and you finally hit that switch in the lift and takes you up to the end of the level. And when you see that stat screen with 0 deaths, it's such a great feeling. Whew. So that's 1 trophy down. Alright, now there are just 2 trophies that stand between me and this platinum. So the next one was the trophy called Finish Line, which basically just requires you to beat the game, as it's the trophy you get for beating the game's final level. So in total I think there are about 18 or so levels, so it's not a super long game, as the majority of its length comes from you dying over and over again. But one of the things I was nervous about with this particular trophy for the very last level in the game was that from the internet and forums that I was looking on, they said that this final level was a massive jump in terms of difficulty from the other game sections. So this game is already hard to get through, but you can do it with multiple attempts at an area, and there's a lot of good checkpoints, so even though you die a lot, you are instantly put back just moments before that area usually, so you can easily run through it again and again. And trust me, you will die over and over because you only take usually one hit and you're dead. And there were some levels that I died like 150 plus times before I got through them. The tower boss in particular was a right pain in the ass, but this final level, it just wasn't that bad. I remember going through it and panicking because at the very start I thought, oh, it's going to be really hard because there won't be any checkpoints anymore. But after dying a couple of minutes in, I noticed I was put back near enough right where I was when I died. So the fact that there's loads of checkpoints in this final level makes it a lot more manageable. And to be honest, most of the things you're doing, like the wall runs and slowing down time to jump back to a wall, is all of the things and moves you've been learning as you play through the game's story. So there's nothing new in here that you've never encountered before in terms of actions that you're performing. It just kind of looks different because you're in this like virtual world at this point. So by the time I got to the end, I was kind of just left thinking, wow, is that it? I expected more from this, but I was glad I got through it, and thank God there were checkpoints, because when I finally completed it, I realised I still died around 28 times, so it still did beat me around a bit, but it was manageable. So that means there is just one trophy left between me and the platinum, as all the other trophies in the game are just simple ones to get. So the final trophy that I thought I would struggle with was the silver More Than Human trophy, which requires you to kill 23 enemies in a row. And even though this is a silver trophy and those other two were gold, this is probably the hardest trophy you're gonna have to go for in the game, and it's kind of probably the most bullshit out of the lot, just in terms of how easy it is for you to get killed by anything in this game. So level 1 is a viable option to do this on, but you would actually have to do it 2 times in a row in order to get that many kills, and for me that just wasn't something I thought I could do. So I went into the level Things You Wouldn't Believe, and I played around with my character's abilities and ended up having a fully upgraded Tempest and Blitz moves, so it would give me 2 powerful abilities to use throughout the level. One of the reasons for picking this stage over the others is that near the beginning of the level, you will find that you end up encountering a load of these small spider enemies, which you can easily kill with a Tempest move, and this will boost your kill count up to around 15 kills or so you get a big number of enemies killed really early on. So the trick is to repeatedly die to these exploding spiders in order to fill up your Tempest meter, and once that is maxed out, you'll then be able to begin the run properly, as you need to use the Tempest move in order to kill a big bunch of spiders, and then use it again to kill the remaining spiders. And if that's done correctly, you'll probably be at around 15. But the bullshit problem here is that you definitely need 2 good hits on the spiders in order to wipe them all out, and that can be kind of tricky, as sometimes you'll find you kind of miss a few, or some of them are straggling behind the pack. So if you do miss any, it can be hard to kill them because you can't actually hit them with a sword because they will blow up and kill you. And if you run to the shuriken star thing at the back of this area, you'll often find that some of the spiders have self-destructed, and if they die themselves, that means you have to get further into the level in order to get that amount of kills that you need. So after getting past that section, we then grab the star and do a wall run, and there are 2 spiders that we can easily kill by using the stars on the opposite side. Once we go through there, we then get to the next tricky part where we have to grapple up to this point and then jump on this grind whale before avoiding the drone and landing on it, so that we can grapple hook over to the next one and grind that down so we get to the ledge. Now this area is bullshit because that drone will fire on you pretty much straight away as soon as you get on that grind rail, so you don't really have much time in order to dodge, and dodging while on that grind rail is kind of tricky because you can easily just end up launching yourself off the edge of the area and falling to your death. So that is a very annoying section to get through. Thankfully, however, once you do go through that bit, you have a little bit of a breather, as the next couple of rooms that you venture through are just little bits of platforming, so there's no risk to dying. When you drop down into this big room, however, you will have the biggest fight of the trophy run in this area, but it's actually easy if you just stay up high and roll run around the room in a circle while grabbing the ninja stars and just throwing them like a madman at all of the enemies in the room. It's very nerve-wracking at this point when you get to this part of the level, because by this point you've practiced for ages and you're probably seeing this bit for the first time, and it can be really nerve-wracking because all the enemies below will be shooting you, and there are 2 machine gunners in this area as well that can easily kill you if you fumble around at the top. So staying up high is definitely the best bet, and just keep moving, because if you go back on yourself when you run around the room, you can run the risk of getting shot, and when you drop down you need to be careful that you don't get shot there. So once we get past that room, we go out into the open bit again, and it's just a simple case of wall running and jumping on these grind rails to just swing around to the next area where we'll have our final encounter with the last few enemies that we need in order to get this trophy. So we're almost there at this point, but you definitely need to be careful, because if you don't get a good enough jump off that first wall, you can easily miss the grind rail and fall to your death. And trust me, dying at that point and that way is just absolutely heartbreaking and really fucking annoying. So once we get to there, we then go to our final encounter, and these guys are the samurai enemies who will launch at you, and the only way to kill them, if you haven't got a power up, is to block their attack with a sword and then hit them. So at this point you'll probably only need to get 1 or 2 and then the trophy will unlock. So your best bet is to just use the Tempest as soon as you land, and that will just wipe them out, and then you'll get the trophy. So there you go, that's 3 trophies in GhostRunner that I thought were gonna be really fucking hard and absolutely bullshit, but for me they just didn't live up to the hype, and they really weren't as bad as I feared they would be. So for that reason, the finish line, R is for running, and more than human trophies in GhostRunner get a bullshit trophy rating of
bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.